What about second breakfast?
Time for second breakfast.
What's up, everybody? Monster from Breakdowns for Breakfast here with another second breakfast. I've been busy. Wanted to come on here a few months ago. I made an episode about joining a band, and they were a band called Deepest Red. It was kind of a punk metal kind of thing. It was with some friends of mine that I had played in bands with before that I've known a long time. And at the time, it seemed like a decent fit. I was playing with my buddies, having a good time. And It was short-lived. I still have nothing but love for those guys. It wasn't like a bad thing happened or anything like that. But I was starting to get just sort of, I don't know. My dad actually made an interesting statement. I've mentioned my dad all the time. He's a musician and huge inspiration to me. And when he asked me why was I going to quit, I said I just wasn't really feeling it anymore and wasn't having a great time with it. And he was like, I think you've kind of grown out of playing that kind of music a little bit. And I thought, you know what? There's some truth to that, for sure. And so anyway, sort of related, sort of unrelated, around the time that I was really having the feeling that, like, man, this might not be the band for me, you know. I got a call from an old friend of mine who happened to be in a very interesting cover band and a very interesting tribute band. And he had kind of sort of brought this up to me before, in sort of a, hey, could you possibly fill in at some point kind of way? And I basically said, sure, it sounds like fun. I could probably, if I had to fill in, I could fill in. Well, these bands, the guitar player actually left. And so my friend reached out to me and he said, hey man, you're the first person I thought of. I feel like you'd be the perfect fit for this. Would you be interested? And so we talked about it for a little bit. I talked about it with my wife and decided to say, why not? Let's give this a go and see what happens. So I ended up leaving Deepest Red, mostly because it was just, I wasn't really feeling it. Around the exact same time, I got approached by a really good friend of mine who I've known and played in several bands with over the years. I know I've mentioned him on the show before, Death Proof, which was kind of my 2009, 10, 11 era kind of new metal band. But then he and I also did a cover band called Schmack Daniels that I think I've brought up on the show a handful of times as well. He is now the singer of two bands. One is called Crypt Kicker and one is called Thoughtless. Now, Crypt Kicker is... So another cool thing is here in North Carolina, we are well known for having a couple of the greatest haunted attractions in America. Two places in particular, Spooky Woods and Woods of Terror. And I've been to both. Both have a lot of positives about them. But what's really cool about this band, Crypt Kicker, is they are the Woods of Terror band. So essentially, the way this works, and I think real quick you'll see why I was quote unquote the first choice, but also why I was excited by this. Essentially, around Halloween time, this band plays at Woods of Terror every weekend to the literally thousands upon thousands of people that come through there. But then all throughout the year, they play gigs in their costumes from Woods of Terror. So essentially it was like, hey man, we want you to come in here, and some of the songs are kind of like, not necessarily my favorite songs in the world, but they're good cover songs that make people get up and dance and stuff. But also a lot of it is Limp Bizkit and Deftones and Rage Against the Machine. We also do some other like fun stuff like 50 Cent and some pop songs and some country songs. It's a good mix of stuff, but everything's rocked up a little bit, and we're all wearing like, monster costumes. We all have unique names. Super easy for me. I said, can I just go by Monster? That's sort of already my alias, I guess, with the podcast and stuff. And they all thought that was cool. Right now, my mask is sort of this a little bit Count Orlok vampire-esque. It's got kind of like pointy ears, but the mouth is more like red shredded meat kind of looking. It's pretty cool. I had recently, just within the past couple years, had wanted to start a horror punk band. So it was like, and this is what I was going to do in the horror punk band. I was going to wear a costume, be very theatrical. So this gives me the opportunity to do that while also playing, a bunch of popular songs that people like to get up and move to. And not for nothing, make a few bucks while doing it, because it's hard to make music, make money playing music. And so to get to do that with people I've known and respected for a very long time, played in bands with before, while also getting to do the horror theatrical things, like, well, might be fun, might be worth giving it a shot. So essentially, they gave me about 2 weeks to learn between like 30 and 31 songs. The whole set is about 40, maybe 45 songs. But the guitar player they had before me, I think, is a little more technically sound. I don't want to just say he's better than me, but I mean, like, they had songs by like they had Walk by Pantera. They had Beat It by Michael Jackson with the Eddie Van Halen solo. And so I think we're going to tweak the set just a smidge to play a little more to my strengths. I'm still doing some stuff like they do Feed My Frankenstein by Alice Cooper, which I think is a perfect song for the setup and everything that we have. A lot of kind of gnarly guitar solo stuff in there, but it's the kind of stuff that I can sort of improvise on the fly. And if it's a little messy and dissonant, it sort of fits the vibe. So it's not so bad, but like an iconic guitar solo like Dimebags and Walk, or they had Crazy Train by Ozzy in the set. I think what we're thinking about doing is maybe consolidating some of those into medleys and stuff, to where we'll still play bits and pieces of it so people can hear, kind of the hook and kind of the part they like, but also, again, playing to specifically me as the guitar player, playing to my strengths, as opposed to, noodling all over the place. That's just not the kind of guitar player I am. But on the flip side of that, the costume, the energy on stage, like, that's more my speed, and so I can bring that to the table, maybe a little better than the previous guitar player. I honestly, I don't know. I never saw him play, so I'm not, I don't know. I'm just saying that on a technical level, he is leaps and bounds past where my playing skills are. So, I'm going to try to make up for it with some stage presence and that kind of thing. So I had to learn about somewhere between 30 and 35 songs in about 2 weeks. Had 2 practices, and I was able to get down, I think, 31 altogether, which was enough for us to go out and play a show. So I played my first show with them. It was a little rough around the edges on my behalf. The rest of the guys were great. But nothing went off the rails, we didn't have to stop a song, so all things considered, I think it was fine. The guys have all been really supportive and just basically told me, hey, you're doing great. Just don't stress yourself out. Just keep doing your thing, and so that was great. But these guys are also part of a second band called Thoughtless. Thoughtless is a Korn tribute band. So in addition to the 30 to 35 songs I needed to learn for that gig, coming up, I haven't played this gig yet. At the time of recording, I'm in between the weeks. I played a couple nights ago on Saturday for Crypt Kicker, and now a couple days from now on the coming Saturday, I'll be playing with Thoughtless, the Korn tribute band. Now, Korn is a fun, obviously I love Korn. I bring up Korn all the time. They're in my top 10, probably top 5 favorite bands possibly. And so I've been listening to them forever. But I'll be honest with you, I never really tried to learn how to play a lot of their stuff. I learned a couple riffs, a couple songs here or there, but to actually sit down and learn 15, 20, I think the goal eventually is to know like 40 or 50 Korn songs. But right now, it's sort of, like I said, it's kind of, they've actually been around for a while, but the same guitar player that I took the place of in Crypt Kicker was one of the guitar players in Thoughtless, and so he left, and so now it's the drums, vocals, and bass are all the same, but it's 2 brand new guitar players. Thankfully, the other guitar player in this band, Thoughtless, the Korn tribute band, is, I mean, he knows this stuff like the back of his hand. He basically was like, hey, dude, I know you're trying to learn the 30-something for Crypt Kicker. I'm basically learning both parts of the Korn songs, so we can hash it out. You know, whatever parts you learn, you do them. I'll do the other parts. Again, super cool dude, super chill, very supportive. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm a little nervous just simply because I do love Korn. They've been a huge inspiration on me. My guitar playing, even though I never, like I said, sat down to learn a bunch of Korn material. It's, you know, I want to do Korn well. I want to do the other songs for Crypt Kicker well, you know, too. But you know, Korn being such a big part of my musical taste, I really want to nail it. But we've kind of like, so last week to get ready for the Crypt Kicker gig, we would do mostly Crypt Kicker songs, and then maybe throw in a couple Korn songs at the end before we were just completely burned out. And then this week it's going to be kind of the opposite. We're going to do 2 practices, basically just pounding those Korn songs and getting those in our heads, specifically for me and the guitar player. I have no doubt in my mind about the other 3 dudes. They are super good. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I will probably come back on here after the Korn show, just to give my thoughts on how the night went. The Crypt Kicker gig went very well. It was a very cool venue. It's very big. And so it was one of those things where it's like, it was just a tap house. It's just a bar. It's not like a music venue. There was probably close to 100 people. I'd say between 75 and 100 people. And at no point was there more than about 8 people right in front of us. But every time we finished a song, you would just hear roars coming from places because it was a big open room. There's some pool tables to one side. There's sort of like a lounge area on another. But then like out back, there's like a big patio where there's tons of people sitting outside, and they have like these big like garage bay doors, and they're wide open. So I'm sure people down the street can hear us playing and stuff. Took a bunch of pictures with people. They love to see us in our costumes and stuff. So yeah, like, you know, the show went really well. So I think I'll do the same after I play this show, with Thoughtless, the Korn tribute band, which is also cool. It's at Hangar 1819, which is a venue I bring up all the time. It's in Greensboro. That's where I saw Jaluka. It's where Danger saw The Plot and You, and we've seen a bunch of other shows there. We're playing with a Alice in Chains tribute band called Stickman, I believe, or Sickman, I can't remember, but features another buddy of mine who I've known a really long time, so it'll be cool to see him again. It's been a few years. So yeah, I sort of quit one band and then found myself in 2 more, and taking on a whole lot of work. I'm very, I make jokes about my guitar playing often, and in the grand scheme of things, I am pretty amateurish compared to a lot of guitar players out there. But one thing that I have been I'm very thankful for is that obviously with certain things it takes a lot more work than this, but a lot of times I've got a pretty good ear when it comes to like learning by ear, and so I can usually listen to a song a few times, play along to it, and at least get the general gist of it, and then look up tabs for sort of like the little minutia, and it really helps with the Korn tribute band having a second guitar player who's all on top of it and really knows his stuff and can really kind of even the couple Korn songs we have ran so far, he's like, hey, try playing it like this. It sounds more like the record. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Or there's so many things in those Korn songs. Like if you're actually like listening to hear, okay, this guitar is playing X, this guitar is playing Y. There's so many songs where literally like one of the guitar players is playing this like little high pitched line and the other guitar player is going like just making these weird little noises every once in a while just to add texture and add layers. So sometimes it's like, oh yeah, that's easy. It's just these three notes back and forth, but it sounds really cool. And then other times it's like, just make some noise, just have some dissonant noise in there, But yeah, so I also say all this to say, if you feel like on an episode or two coming up, I have not been as thoroughly prepared as I try to be, it could have been, we were recording that episode around the time I was trying to learn 55 songs between two bands. So unfortunately, some of the time when I would be like sitting around listening to an album we're going to do for the show, I had to sit down and listen to a bunch of White Zombie and Chris Isaak and Jason Aldean and Marilyn Manson songs, and then obviously a ton of Korn songs to try to get myself up for that. But yeah, it's been really cool. If you live in North Carolina, we will inevitably be playing somewhere near you at some point. If you like going to haunted attractions, Woods of Terror rules. If you look up almost any kind of, top 10 haunted attractions in America, Woods of Terror is almost always on that list, usually near the top. It is fantastic. My wife and I used to go all the time before we had kids. It'll be really fun to be like sort of a part of it now. It is a lot of time and energy put towards it. But I think it'll be a lot of fun. When I upload this, I'll also include some pictures from our costumes and hopefully have a picture or video or two from some of these performances, so you can kind of get the gist of sort of what we do and everything. But yeah, if you're interested, please hit me up, let me know. If like I said, if you're in North Carolina, maybe follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you see us playing somewhere, come hang out. But yeah, just thought I'd give everybody a life update on my new bands, Crypt Kicker and Thoughtless. And yeah, I hope you have a great day.